Can you get me a water and water?
Wait a second, are you sober?
Once the withdrawal finally wore off, I realized sobriety agrees with me.
Rand Ridley, genius scientist, one of the co-founders of Cognito Inc, great husband, and even greater father. Okay, I'm just kidding about those last two. Despite being a genius scientist and co-founder of an Illuminati-like organization, Rand is not a great dad. I mean, the guy makes Rick Sanchez look like Father of the Year. Okay, no, they are more or less the same in that area. Now, Rand may be pretty awful to his family in general, but he can be especially horrible to Reagan, making us question just why this guy is a dad. Now, over her life, Reagan has had to endure a lot from Rand. From lifelong neglect, to almost getting killed because of him, and even messing with her memories. So we thought, why not make a video of the 10 worst things that Rand has done to Reagan. Hey guys, it's your buddy Z-Zypher, and today we'll be going through the top 10 worst moves that Rand has made as a father. Now before we get this video started, why don't you head on over to the old subscribe button and ring that bell to get notified of the latest content that we have prepared just for you. Now without further ado, let's get right to it.
The only thing I think you could be accused of is caring too much, or abduction of a child.
Now this first one, we'll admit, is a little debatable. When Reagan was 11, she was a high school senior and went to prom with Brett. Okay, for all this to make sense, we have to go back a ways. In the season 1 finale of Inside Job, Reagan gets promoted to CEO of Cognito Inc. when JR learns that he's going to become one of the robes. Unfortunately, that same day, someone steals the unspoken file. After the file is stolen, JR proceeds to threaten everyone by saying he's going to disappear them all if they don't find the mole by the end of the day. This eventually causes the entire team to turn against each other, thinking that one of them is the mole, until Rand literally falls out of the ceiling and is thought to be the mole by everyone, except for Reagan. It is later revealed that her robot teddy bear Barrow is the one who stole the file in a plot to take down Cognito and free Reagan from the company. Reagan tries to order Barrow to stop, but lacks the password needed to override Barrow's systems. So she and Rand end up going into her head to find the password. But Brett accidentally falls into a tub of mushroom jizz and ends up in Reagan's head. Okay, now that you're all up to speed, let's get back to the entry, shall we? Now Brett actually ends up falling into one of Reagan's memories, her prom night memory to be exact. While in this memory, Brett offered to accompany Reagan to prom, seeing as she didn't have a date. Reagan proceeds to inform her dad that
I'm going to the dance with a stranger in his 30s!
Alright, have fun, honey. Be back whenever.
now we think that letting your 11-year-old daughter go to prom with a stranger in his 30s that she had met in the bushes that same night definitely counts as a bad move, earning it a spot on our list, but only at the very bottom, seeing that even at that age Reagan could take good care of herself.
Hey, Four Eyes, who the hell are you and what are you doing in my living room?
I'm the new boyfriend?
Since when?
Now we've all seen the movies, and possibly experienced it ourselves. A girl brings her new boyfriend to meet her parents. The boyfriend meets the father, and the father feels that the guy is not worthy of his daughter and instantly hates the guy. Now there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to protect your daughter and wanting to keep her safe, but there's a difference between not liking her new boyfriend and downright increasing her chances of dying alone. And it seems like Rand doesn't see the difference, seeing as he once gave his daughter literal boy-repellent as a gift and told her it was a Britney Spears perfume. Now it might not seem all that bad, but considering the fact that Reagan ends up being so desperate to get a boyfriend that in the first season's 4th episode she ends up having to build a robot boyfriend just so she can win a bet.
Gigi, I made him out of literal boyfriend material. Isn't that right, babe?
I'm programmed to agree with you, so yes, babe.
Now, the fact that he caused his daughter to go so far as to build a boyfriend definitely earns Rand Ridley's Britney Spears perfume a spot on our list.
They got guns?
They're adult men who still use chat rooms. Of course they have guns.
Rand is Rand. And there are certain things that you'll never get him to do. One, you'll never get him to stop drinking. And two, you'll never get him to not look down on beings that are inferior to him. For example, mankind. The latter, combined with his love for ticking off JR, actually led to Reagan almost getting killed by a flat earther. Okay, it was more indirect than we're putting it, but still. See, in the 6th episode of Inside Job, we learned that Reagan has been organizing her mom's wedding to, well, herself, Tamiko.
That's the kicker. My mom is getting married to herself.
For everyone's safety and for the sake of her own sanity, Reagan has been doing her best to make sure that Rand doesn't find out about the wedding, or it could start the next World War. That same day, Reagan finds out that years ago, Rand made a bet with JR that there was no idea so stupid that people could be made to believe it. So, he spread the flat earth theory and people believed it too well. People actually started to believe that the earth was flat. So, naturally, he just kept messing with them to annoy the heck out of JR. Later that day, Rand finds out that Tamiko is getting remarried and immediately proceeds to crash the party. One thing leads to another, and a bunch of flat earthers whose boat Rand had used to get to the yacht end up taking everyone on the yacht, including Reagan, hostage. During this hostage situation, Reagan's life is threatened and she is almost nailed by one of the several bullets that are flying all around the boat. Now, Rand may not have known that the guys had guns, but the fact remains that he single-handedly managed to turn the wedding that his daughter had prepared into an extremely dangerous situation that could have ended with Reagan's shock or worse. Not that her day-to-day job is any better, but this isn't the last time that Reagan would almost get killed due to something that Rand did.
The best thing for humanity is to end it.
In the very first episode of the show, we already see what kind of person Rand is, and exactly how he feels about Cognito Inc. In this episode, Reagan builds a robot to replace the President of the United States, aka POTUS. See, in the previous elections, the candidate that Cognito Inc. had backed won. But unfortunately, they later realized that the guy is too ignorant for them to manipulate. So, they took the only logical step, had their top scientist build a robot to replace him, like you do. That way they'll have a president that they can fully control. The plan was working perfectly until the robot suddenly started to turn on its creator. That's when Rand tells Reagan that he's the one behind it.
But I might have fudged with the robot's code so its inhibitor chip would turn off if you were removed from payroll. Boom! One flash and its code breaks.
Now, not only did Reagan almost get killed because of Rand, but the entire world was almost destroyed simply because Rand has a bone to pick with Cognito Inc. Rand caused Reagan to almost completely destroy her life's work and her one chance at getting just a smidge of the respect she deserves. So the alterations that Rand made to Reagan's code have definitely earned the 7th spot in our list.
I even created this amazing robot so it could hug you whenever I wasn't around, which was always.
Now, this next entry, we have no idea where to start with. Throughout the first season of the show, it's pretty clear that Reagan has been heavily affected by the emotional neglect that she's had to endure throughout her childhood. There is perhaps no better example of this than the 3rd episode of the series, when Brett tries to, hug Reagan.
What was that?
I don't know.
At first, Reagan has no idea why she has such a problem with people hugging her. Under any other circumstances, this wouldn't matter much to Reagan, but she had to attend the annual Rug Gala, to help smooth things over with the reptoids after JR made them the butt of a certain joke. At first, she tries to solve the matter by building a pair of robot arms in order to help her hug reptoids, seeing as hugging is a traditional reptoid greeting. Naturally, this ends in disaster, and the matter becomes so bad that Reptoid Judge Judy had to help settle the issue. As the trial goes on, Reagan learns that Rand never hugged her. He made a robot bear to do it instead. And so she's so traumatized by all of it that she can't hug people without losing her cheese. Now this is just one example of the lasting effects of Rand's emotional neglect towards Reagan as a child. So we'd say emotionally neglecting your daughter definitely counts as a bad move, earning it the 6th spot on our list.
Just so we're clear, I literally solved artificial intelligence this morning.
Now Reagan is a genius and she always has been. According to her principal, she had the highest test scores that he had ever seen. Now what often happens in situations like this is that a teacher or the principal himself suggests that the learners skip a grade or two. But Reagan was so gifted that in the 4th grade, he suggested that she skip the rest of elementary and middle school and go straight to high school. Sounds great, right? What could possibly be wrong with that? Well, here's the thing.
But she's finally made a friend.
Oren! He's my new best friend!
Well, dropping an opportunity like that because you want to stay with a friend might sound like a terrible and irresponsible idea, but let's consider the facts, shall we? In the entire 10 to 11 years of her life at that time, Reagan had never had a friend, until this kid with glasses came along. She had a dad who emotionally neglected her, and a mother who undercut her confidence every chance she got. So saying she had a happy childhood up to that point would be a total lie. She was forced, not asked, forced to skip all those grades just because Rand wanted his offspring to succeed for him. Even the manner in which she makes sure that Reagan has no problem with skipping grades is nothing but a downright horrible thing for Rand to do to Reagan.
So, we've reverted to the man with the most experience and shares in the company to be CEO.
Oh, you can't mean...
Hey there, Jellybean.
Now we're not gonna go through everything that happened in the season finale of Inside Job, mainly because we've already gone through most of it in a previous entry in this video. I'll just stick to everything pertaining to Reagan's promotion. After managing to find and stop the mole at Cognito Inc., Reagan looks forward to her first official day as boss. That is until the Robes show up in what was supposed to be her office. The Robes explain that due to everything that happened the previous day, they feel that Reagan lacks the experience needed to run Cognito Inc. And they have decided to give the position to the person who owns most of the shares at Cognito Inc. The person with the most shares in the company is Rand Ridley. And this was even before he blackmailed JR into giving him a piece of his stake in the company. Now this is definitely one of the worst things Rand has ever done to Reagan. Reagan had been working towards getting the position for basically her whole life, and for her to be so close to achieving it, just to have the position usurped from her by her own father, must have hurt more than one of Barrow's hugs.
How could you do this to me?
Sorry, kid, it's still Team Ridley. It's just, I'm the team captain now. The mole was...
Barrow's the mole?
It's okay, Reagan. Do you need a hug?
Speaking of Barrow, the teddy bear of terror deserves its own entry on this list. Now we could pull up a number of times throughout Reagan's life that would instantly earn this bear a spot on our list. But we'll just go to the reason why Barrow was created in the first place. Barrow was created by Rand to be there for Reagan when he couldn't be. Which sounds like a great thing to do for your daughter, but not when you plan to never be there for her. Barrow was created to do all the comforting that comes with being a parent, so that Rand wouldn't have to do it himself. Barrow terrorized Reagan throughout her whole life.
Initiating hug.
No, Barrow!
Initiating hug.
This cold and calculating Care Bear-like creation has rightfully earned the third spot on our list. Now, most of us wanted some kind of pet as kids, whether it was a parrot, a cat, a dog, maybe even a goldfish. When Reagan was a kid, she had 4 pet turtles that she had dressed up to look a lot like 4 other turtles you might know. Now, when you're the daughter of a scientist who doesn't really care what you play with, you tend to be able to do things that most kids can, like...
You just gave those turtles cancer! What? Yeah, what were you thinking? You just Chernobyl their insides into turtle soup!
Reagan had exposed her turtles to select doses of radiation in hopes of transforming them into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But unfortunately, the experiment failed, and the turtles started dying from the inside. And what happens next is not any better. Rand proceeds to take out a gun and tells Reagan that they should go put down her turtles. In a later scene, we see Rand giving little Reagan a gun, as if telling her to shoot one of her turtles. So I'd say it's safe to assume that that was the first day Reagan ever took a life. Now, we don't feel the need to explain why this moment is on our list. Rand literally gave little Reagan a gun and made her kill her pet turtle.
Someone was experimenting on me? Erasing my memories? And it was... Dad?
Remember a few entries ago when I mentioned that Reagan had a friend? Well, his name was Oren Carthwaite, if you're wondering. Whilst trying to recover a memory of her entering Barry's password, Reagan finds out a dark secret. She finds out that when she was a kid, her dad erased her one and only friend Oren clean out of her mind. He wanted to make sure that she doesn't get derailed by her friends. Now, what Rand did is past abuse. It's past all forms of torture. Rand literally erased Reagan's only friend just to ensure that he will always have some sort of power in Cognito Inc. And for that reason, Rand's erasure of Oren earns the top spot on our list. So what do you guys think? Do you agree with our list? Tell us what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And click here to watch another one of the great videos that the Ziza Effort team has prepared just for you. Till next time.